They tried to crush my little girl's rainbow with a $10,000 fine, but when I stood in front of the whole neighborhood, I turned their own rules against them. What happened next made the HOA president's perfect smile crack, and the whole room gasped. Before we continue, please drop a like and comment below with your country and what time it is right now where you're watching. Whether it's sunrise in Australia, midnight in New York, afternoon in Canada, or evening in France, I want to know. Don't just sit back, tell me where in the world you are. Now, let's dive into the story. The hose roared as the rainbow bled into gray, and Juniper's tiny hands reached toward the rushing water like she could hold color itself. I tasted metal, silent, counting the fines. Karen Lattimore, pearls, clipboard, sunglasses that reflected my face, read aloud, violation, unauthorized pigment application on shared frontage. Fine, $10,000. My daughter's lip trembled. I swallowed 100 arguments and felt each one burn. Neighbors peeked through blinds on Thistlebrook Court. Cars idled, then rolled past, pretending not to see. I crouched beside Juniper, whispering, "It's beautiful, kiddo." The water spared nothing. Her sunburst stars went last. Karen announced, "Community standards preserve property values." I saw my mortgage in her smile. The word values rang hollow, like a church bell made from cheap tin. Juniper started to cry. Something inside me snapped. I glanced at the storm drain swallowing violet streaks. The rainbow vanished, but not its echo. I stood, shook the water from my shoes, and told Karen, "You're wrong." She wrote another note just for that sentence. "Additional non-compliance, confrontational tone," she said, pen scratching like a wasp. My jaw tightened. 10,000 for chalk. What happens to families without spare breaths, much less spare dollars? Karen turned away, satisfied, marching toward her beige SUV like a general returning from victory. The clipboard tucked beneath her arm glinted righteous. Juniper pressed her damp cheek into my knee. "Daddy, can we draw a new one?" she asked, hiccuping. My throat closed. I looked at the puddle mirror, saw a man who'd been careful too long. I nodded once, slowly, then changed my mind. I lifted Juniper, carried her inside our townhouse at 9 Hellebore Lane, North Althea. I locked the door. I wasn't going to redraw anything. I was going to redraw the map. And Karen heard it click. "Tomorrow," I promised silently, "she washes something off she can't replace." When we moved into Thistlebrook, the brochure promised walkable paths and neighborly harmony. I'd just taken a facilities supervisor job at Oxbow Foundry, swing shifts, steady insurance, and a tired hope we could breathe. My wife, Peregrine, Perry, Sloan, balanced bakery mornings and bedtime stories. We bought chalk because it was the only vacation we could afford that summer. Juniper named every stick like a friend. The HOA welcome packet weighed more than our microwave manual. 36 pages. Fonts that scolded. I read rules about mailbox heights, flag sizes, planter shapes. 2 signatures required for seasonal wreaths. The warnings were embossed. Neighbors learned the rules like hymns. Mr. Wexler measured his grass weekly with a chrome ruler. Mrs. Braid turned in a teenager for hanging postcards. Karen chaired everything, fingers on every hinge in town. We paid dues on time, baked lemon bars for potlucks, replaced our porch light with the approved bulb temperature. We tried to make it work, because leaving would cost more than staying. Then came Juniper's chalk rainbow, the most harmless rebellion. She drew it across the sidewalk lit by our hedge, a promise to herself that colors belonged anywhere feet could dance. I watched from the stoop, proud. Karen arrived as if summoned by a siren. The clipboard. The pearls. The look that said property values were porcelain and my daughter was a hammer. She brought a maintenance tech with a hose. I filmed a few seconds, hand shaking. Not enough to matter. Juniper's cry mattered. The fine mattered most. Our savings were already a map of holes. Perry's eyes said, "We can't do 10. I kissed Perry's knuckles. "We won't." That night, I reread bylaws until streetlights blinked. A sentence on page 14 flashed like lightning. Decorative exceptions permitted for sanctioned community events with educational value. I felt a door crack. What counted as sanctioned? Who decides educational? And what happens when sunlight pours through a crack? I marched into the Monday board meeting at the clubhouse on Cobweb Terrace, fluorescent hums and folding chairs arranged like soldiers. Karen sat center, flanked by Treasurer Lyle and Secretary Mina, both nodding before she spoke. Public comment, Mina announced. I raised my hand and stood. The fine is unjust. Chalk is temporary. The bylaws allow educational decoration at sanctioned events, and my daughter's art taught neighbors joy. Karen smiled like a chalk outline. No event was sanctioned. No permission requested. The aesthetic was compromised. She folded her hands, pearls catching overhead light, eyes rehearsed for courtroom cameras that hadn't arrived yet. I'm requesting a review, I said, sliding a typed letter across the table. And I'm proposing a Juniper Day, a children's art walk on the sidewalk, sponsored by our street. Educational. Sanctioned. Lyle frowned at the word sponsored. Mina whispered to Karen, who narrowed her eyes like she was miking the moment for drama. Requests must be filed 30 days prior, she chimed. Yours is late. It's timely when the harm is fresh, I replied, voice steady. A few neighbors shifted behind me. Someone stifled a cough. The fluorescent buzz sounded like distant bees discovering sugar and poison together. Karen checked her watch. Fine stands. Meeting adjourned. She rapped the table with a pen, metal against wood, a pretend gavel. People started standing. My heart pounded, but another page in the rules glowed. Appeal hearings require public notice, I said loudly. And minutes must be posted within 7 days. I had my phone ready. You're missing last month's minutes. That's a violation under Section 7. Murmurs rose. Karen's smile faltered, just an inch. Clerical delay, Mina offered, cheeks pink. Lyle coughed into his fist. I kept my voice soft, like oil on a stuck bolt. We all follow rules or none. Karen leaned forward. We'll post the minutes. I nodded. And I'll file a formal appeal. With neighbors watching. I turned, counted faces, planted a seed. Every seed needs sun. I planned to bring noon. Walking out, I felt the hinge give. Something in that room had loosened. At home, I printed everything. Bylaws, budgets, vendor contracts, newsletters. Paper mountains rose on our kitchen table beside a bowl of bruised apples. Perry brewed coffee, sat, and joined me without a word. Juniper slept clutching a lone blue chalk nub. The rainbow gone, the fine looming, our marriage a tightrope over a bill. Perry squeezed my knee. We fight smart, Calder. Not loud. Smart. I highlighted invoices from Lattimore Community Services, Karen's maiden name, billing the HOA for event planning. The amounts were tidy, repeating zeros. I circled them. Conflict of interest? I asked. Perry raised one eyebrow. A newsletter boasted new cameras near the pool purchased from Pearlgate Security. The address matched Karen's cousin, according to a public business registry search I ran during lunch. My pen tapped, gathering thunder. I called our neighbor, Aster Kilgore, a quiet librarian with a spine of steel. She'd once filed a successful complaint about mailbox keys. You're not imagining it, she said. People are scared. They pay to breathe. Aster connected me with Harlan Voss, a landlord on Nightjar Loop who'd been cited for unauthorized compost bin color. He emailed scans of his hearing, no notice posted, no minutes archived. Patterns formed, sharp and repeating. I pressed record on my old voice memo app, narrating each thread. Vendor nepotism. Missing minutes. Selective enforcement. Perry drafted a plain language sheet, Know Your Rights in Thistlebrook. I printed 50, tucked them under doormats. By Friday, Karen posted the missing minutes, backdated, sloppy. The file metadata, once downloaded, told the true date. I screenshotted everything, a chain of footprints through fresh snow toward the same pair of shoes. That night, a letter slid under our door, cease distributing unauthorized materials. Karen's signature, neat, blue. I held it under the lamp and smiled. If she was warning, she was worried. I opened my laptop and wrote the first draft of the story you're now hearing, beginning with a rainbow washed away, and ending someplace brighter I could almost see. Saturday dawned with clouds like stacked plates. Juniper asked for pancakes, Perry made them smile-shaped. We were halfway through syrup when a knock rattled the door. Maintenance tech. Toolbox. Behind him, Karen, pearls gleaming. Exterior compliance inspection, Karen announced. We received complaints regarding your hedges and porch planter alignment. The tech avoided my eyes. I gestured to the hedges, level as a spirit bubble. Aligned by your landscaper, I said. Karen lifted her phone to photograph the planter. Unapproved terracotta glaze, she said. I laughed softly. It's dirt. She typed anyway. Perry stepped beside me, holding the approved bulb document like a passport stamped everywhere. Juniper peered from behind my leg, thumb in her mouth. Karen lowered her sunglasses to meet the child who'd drawn a rainbow. Rules are for everyone, she said. Juniper blinked. I felt my fists remember childhood. We let them finish the inspection. When they left, Perry collapsed into a chair. She's trying to grind us down, she whispered. I kissed the crown of her head. Let her grind. Pressure makes diamonds. I filed another appeal, this time for harassment, citing the sudden inspection, the unscheduled entry attempt on our side yard, and the retaliatory letter. I CC'd a county mediator, small claims court, and a local reporter. That afternoon, Astor texted, your flyer worked. 2 more families want to testify about selective enforcement. Names came through, Verity Mott and the Ossingtons. Different streets, same patterns. The neighborhood's pulse got louder. At dusk, I found a chalk drawing on our stoop. Tiny hands had drawn a pocket rainbow, tucked away from hoses. Juniper beamed. Perry cried a little. I took a picture and set it as my phone background. Hours later, we heard tires and whispering. I looked out. 2 board members in hoodies removed flyers from porches, stuffing them into a bag. I filmed. My heart kept steady time. Evidence loves a good night. I stepped onto the porch light and let it click. The hoodies froze. Evening, I said. They ran, dropping the bag. Paper fluttered like startled birds, then settled, readable and undeniable. Monday morning, I emailed the video, with timestamps, addresses, and names, to the county's Community Oversight Office. I CC'd the North Althea Chronicle reporter, Sarah Lynn. The subject line, HOA removing public notices at night. Sarah called within an hour. I've had tips about Thistlebrook, she said. Nothing documented. Your files tell a story. I told her the beginning. Chalk, hose, fine. I promised her the middle was better. She asked for interviews. Astor agreed. Harlan agreed. Even the Ossingtons, shy as dusk, agreed. I asked Perry if we should go on record. She nodded. We'll be careful, she said, but we won't be quiet. Karen posted a notice. Unauthorized publicity undermines community cohesion. It read like a spell meant to bind. I replied in the community forum with screenshots of Section 7. Members may communicate concerns publicly. The thread lit up. Neighbors posted photos. A child's fairy door removed from a maple, holiday lights cut mid-season, a community garden plot denied to a renter. Sarah watched the thread, requested permission to quote. Karen closed comments at noon. That afternoon, I received a certified letter escalating our fine, daily penalties accruing until payment. 10,000 turned into a staircase. I felt dizzy and then strangely calm. Pressure, diamonds. Or pressure, explosions. Perry packed Juniper's backpack with extra crayons for kindergarten. Tell them about your art, she said. Juniper nodded solemnly. I'll draw inside, she whispered. I hugged her. Someday, we'll make sidewalks sing again. Sarah published online first. When chalk becomes a crime, a neighborhood's battle with its HOA. My inbox bloomed. Some emails applauded. Some warned. One offered pro bono legal advice if things got uglier. That night, Karen drove slowly past our house, SUV crawling like a shark measuring a dock. I stood on the porch and waved. She didn't wave back. Juniper tugged my sleeve, whispering, "Is she scared?" "Maybe," I said. Bullies get scared when light finds them. Astor texted a candle emoji. The street felt different. like someone had opened a window. But windows invite weather, and weather was rolling in fast. The appeal hearing convened in the clubhouse again, chairs filled this time. Sarah took notes, pen whispering. Karen presided, lips firm, pearls steadier than breath. Lyle and Mina flanked her, eyes glassy with nerves. I presented first, timeline, photos, invoices, forum screenshots. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. The documents did their own singing, a choir of receipts and rules humming the same clear melody. Aster followed, speaking softly about Storytime in the park canceled for unauthorized blankets. Harlan described paint swatches rejected for emotional undertones. The Ossingtons told of fines for a wheelchair ramp not in pallet. Karen's turn came. Our covenant ensures harmony, she said. We regret any hurt feelings, but standards keep values high. Sarah looked up. Values? She asked quietly, notepad ready. Karen nodded. Property values. I submitted the vendor conflict packet. Lattimore Community Services, Pearlgate Security, overlapping addresses, familial ties, and uncompetitive bids. Mina's pen stopped. Lal swallowed. The room shifted, air changing like pressure before rain. Karen said the board had full discretion, the phrase like duct tape over a leak. I countered with the clause requiring competitive sourcing for contracts above $5,000. Several Pearlgate invoices exceeded that number. Mina adjusted her glasses. We can review procurement procedures, she offered. Karen's jaw tightened. The appeal is about chalk, she snapped. I smiled politely. It's about power. Chalk just made it visible. A neighbor stood from the back. Mr. Wexler, ruler guy, surprising me. My wife's guardian angel statue was removed, he said, voice shaking. I didn't speak up. I should have. Karen blinked, surprised as anyone. The board retreated for deliberation. The room filled with quiet conversations, hope daring to stretch its limbs. Perry squeezed my hand. Juniper, with a babysitter, was safe at home. I replayed the morning kiss. The board returned. Lyle read, fine reduced to administrative fee, appeal partially granted. Procurement processes to undergo audit. A gasp. Then scattered applause. Karen's smile fractured. She lifted the gavel pen. Meeting adjourned, she said. But Sarah stood. One more question, for the record. President Lattimore, did your company receive HOA funds? Cameras finally found the room. Karen froze, gavel suspended, then fell. The Chronicle front page ran with Sarah's story and my porch photo, me holding Juniper's chalk nub like a keepsake. Comments erupted online, our mailbox filled with casserole recipes and legal pamphlets. Karen sent a mass email calling the article defamatory, demanding retractions. Sarah posted her sources. The Oversight Office announced a preliminary inquiry. Pearlgate Security's site went offline, replaced by a placeholder saying, maintenance. 2 board members resigned by noon, Mina included, with a short note, we joined to help, not harm. Lyle stayed, eyes heavy, promising transparency. Karen doubled down, scheduling an emergency meeting about restoring cohesion. At Oxbow Foundry, the guys at the maintenance desk clapped me on the back, then warned softly, careful Calder. People like Karen collect allies quick. I nodded. I'd seen machines eat men for less. Perry received a bakery order cancellation from a concerned resident. The note said, keep politics out of pastry. She laughed, then cried. I held her and promised to cover rent if the worst arrived. That afternoon, a citation appeared on our door for unsightly media attention. I photographed it, emailed it to the Oversight Office, and blind copied Sarah. Within an hour, the office replied, retaliation noted. Neighbors began chalking. First, a star on Aster's stoop. Then constellations on Wexler's. Children sketched planets, bridges, whales. Adults drew simple hearts. The sidewalks bloomed. Hoses stayed in garages. The street found a spine. Karen called the sheriff. 2 deputies arrived, saw laughter and dusted hands, then shrugged. Sidewalk art washes away, one said, sipping coffee someone handed him. Karen's lips thinned to a paper cut. That night, a rock hit our window, a crack like lightning. I checked the yard, just shadows and sprinklers. Perry called the non-emergency line. Astor appeared with a flashlight, stood with us until midnight. I stared at the crack until it blurred. No retreat. Diamonds or explosions. Either way, the dark would hear us. I scheduled a town hall for Saturday, inviting every HOA in the county. We rented the community theater on Bramwell Avenue with donations from neighbors and a discounted rate from Harlan's friend who ran stage lighting. Sarah moderated. The auditorium buzzed like a beehive discovering open windows. On stage, I told the story from the beginning. The rainbow, the hose, the 10,000. I held up the chalk nub. People leaned forward. Perry read testimonies collected from shy neighbors who couldn't attend. An attorney explained homeowners' rights in simple steps. A city council candidate promised to push for clearer oversight of private governance. Karen arrived midway, took a seat in the back, sunglasses on, pearls steady. During Q&A, a teen asked, "What happens if we move?" Perry answered gently, "Power follows unless we teach it boundaries." Sarah nodded, capturing the line like a butterfly in a jar of ink. Then a surprise. Mr. Wexler approached the mic with a box. "My grass ruler," he said, smiling sadly. "I'm done policing inches." He dropped it into a donation bin marked Legal Fund. Applause rose like tide. Karen stood, finally. "You've humiliated this community," she said, voice shaking. "You've cut our values in half." I answered quietly, "Sidewalks belong to feet and chalk, not fear. Values are people, not prices." She pointed at me. "You'll regret this." The room stilled. I breathed in, tasted old fear, and exhaled something new. "Maybe," I said. "But we won't regret standing up so our kids can draw rainbows." Sarah asked one last question. "President Lattimore, did Lattimore Community Services receive compensation?" Karen hesitated. "Market rate," she said. The room murmured. The oversight officer in the aisle wrote something in a notebook. When the lights dimmed, neighbors swarmed the stage with offers. Printers, child care, extra eyes at night. Juniper ran up and whispered, "Can I draw here?" I nodded. She knelt and sketched a tiny sun. As people left, someone slipped an envelope into my hand. Inside, a photocopy of a contract, Pearlgate overbilling, signed by Karen. No return address. A whistle had finally found its mouth. The Oversight Office concluded its inquiry in 3 weeks. Procurement violations confirmed, contracts suspended, interim board appointed. Karen resigned, for personal reasons. The Chronicle published the findings. Neighbors exhaled like a choir finishing a long note. The board voided our fine, issued a public apology, and created Juniper Day, the educational sidewalk art festival we'd proposed. Vendors donated lemonade. Kids taught adults shading tricks. Sidewalks learned to carry joy without fear. Perry's bakery orders doubled, then tripled. People wanted rainbow rolls and chalk dust cookies. She hired 2 part-timers, laughed again without flinching. At Oxbow, I trained apprentices, a steadier man than before this began. Karen moved to a gated community across town, pearls no doubt packed carefully. Sometimes I imagine her opening boxes and finding a blue chalk nub that isn't there. Silence teaches loud lessons, eventually. On the first Juniper Day, my daughter stood at the same sidewalk edge where everything started. She drew another rainbow, wider, brighter, with little stars marching toward our door at 9 Hellebore Lane. I knelt beside her, hands chalk dusted. "You did this," I whispered. She shook her head. "We did." Neighbors clapped. Astor hung a sign, "Temporary beauty, permanent backbone." Mr. Wexler planted daisies, ruler retired for good. Sarah snapped a final photo, my calloused hand and Juniper's small fingers blending colors. The caption read, "Some art washes away. Some changes don't." The paper folded neatly into a keepsake box under our bed. That night, after stories and teeth, I stepped onto the porch. The crack in our window remained, a pale vein. We kept it, a reminder, pressure can fracture glass, but it also lets light through. I used to think revenge meant breaking someone. Turns out it means building everyone else. The spotlight we turned on Karen illuminated us too. Our kindness, our courage, our stubborn, sidewalk-colored hope. Curtain up.